We have, hang on. I'm in the middle of a presentation.
Turn it off.
That's pretty good.
I'll call you back. Okay, bye-bye. Remind me, I have to stop at the public market before I go in. So anyway, we start with the covered boarding. We have the tracks covered so that people getting on and off trains, similar to airplanes, are going to have some protection. We like the idea that's taking advantage of the natural pitch of the ground now, and in the Bragdon tradition, having the tunnels into the main passenger area. There would be a lot of skylight, a lot of lighting, natural lighting into the building. We envision the bays, let's say we'll work with 8 at this point, on the Joseph Avenue side. This whole area would be cut into the ground so that people, the bus train transfer is quite convenient. It's close. Part of the idea here is that the bus bays are also covered at least for about 3/4 of the length of the bus. In other words, the smelly end will stick out into the thing, but passengers and freight, the baggage can be done undercover. It'd be a fairly close fit for the buses, and deliberately so that when people are getting on and off the buses, again, they're not doing it in rain, snow, or excessive heat. One of the features of the train station shows up a little bit more on, and the station itself would be expandable. We're looking at maybe 40,000 feet, I think, initially. Expanded a lot, maybe to 50 or 60,000 feet. But up in the one corner of the train station here, that could be where the dining area is. Ideally, it would be nice to have a really nice upscale railroad-themed restaurant, but we're looking at something that would overlook the tracks at one end, and it has a beautiful view of downtown Rochester at the other end. Other essential retailing that you would expect, newsstand, things like this would probably happen initially. What happens in the future, we can't say. That's not really for what we're doing today. The train station itself does not come all the way to the curb, and I'm calling it the train station, the intermodal station, I guess I should say. Doesn't come all the way to the curb. It is set back a ways because it's going to allow about, I guess we envision maybe 3 or 4 lanes of driveway to come through. And that's going to be for private automobiles, pickup and drop off. It's going to be for shuttle vans from hotels. It's going to be rental cars and zip cars. It's going to be for the various kinds of vehicles that would come to this facility to pick up and drop off people. So it's going to have that particular feature. See, I left anything. And a downtown circulator, we don't at this point have any idea whether that would be rail or rubber tired, but certainly it could come up Central Avenue, go back down, or come up, loop out on Joseph, go across Central, come down Clinton again, or go up this way or back. And whether that is a streetcar or a rubber-tired vehicle, it would still work essentially the same way. Over here is a parking garage. It would be a ramp garage. It would be fundamentally under the ground or very little elevation up. Again, we're dealing with a slope from the inner loop area, but we're envisioning this as a public park type facility. What could happen here in the future is it could inevitably drive development around it. We hope so, but initially at this point, this would be a park-like structure, maybe something that we convince our friend Albert Bailey to do something, or so that the view of the station coming from downtown is really something that's really worthwhile. We have provided for 2 buildings. That here we're showing them as maybe 2 or 3 story buildings. They could be offices, almost anything. There's a wonderful old former hotel building here, a Victorian structure. Perhaps someone could redo that. But also there's space in the old express facilities behind the post office that could also become something like that little, I'm going to say the inn at the airport, the little hotel that's right at the airport, so that it would be possible for people to stay immediately adjacent to this particular facility. It will drive, we envision it probably driving development east and west initially, so that there could be new construction going both ways. but also with the plans to reconfigure Clinton and Joseph and St. Paul and things as two-way streets more. It's possibly, this can be an anchor to start improvement, development north of Main Street. We know there's been a tendency right now for development to go south of Main Street. How am I doing on time right now? Two more minutes. Yes, and we had to throw a hand grenade in here. We said that the most important thing with the old post office is the facade. That's what happens behind the facade is something, but it's a wonderful, dignified 1930s era sort of Art Deco structure. You want to do that. So one of the wicked things that Rogers thought of is that we would simply carve most of this out, and that would replace Mortimer Street as the city bus. If we're going to have a downtown bus facility, we'd stick it behind there. We just throw that out for no other reason but to start trouble in the room. We are strictly here. This is a layout of the parking garage. It could be about 200 cars. We can have a couple surface lots on the corners. They could be for the rental car. It could be for the zip car. It could be for very short-term parking, possibly some staff parking. It's really difficult to say at this point. But that is the basic plan number one. So before I step down, are there any immediate questions?
Just one thing I wanted to add. After you stepped away and visited other tables, it occurred Roger and I, that there's enough space there actually to start a new campus for MCC or perhaps another school of architecture or something.
Okay, that's true. So,
where's the parking garage?
the parking garage is the triangular piece of land.
South of Central, or no?
Let me do this. The parking garage was actually under here.
Oh, that's okay.
And a little bit under here.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
300 cars.
underneath. Good.
Where is it access from?
Access from Central.
Okay.
There's a ramp coming in, the ramp coming in.
Okay.
And then the access to this, the parking garage for this is under here, and that comes off of Ormond Street.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, what do you envision as the main pedestrian entrance? Like this center part right here?
That's
Right
it,
here.
right there.
And then for
Yeah.
pedestrians, and granted, very few, but pedestrians sort of street level, they would just
They
cross
would-
over
they would
the
cross over.
drop-off.
That's correct.
Okay.
And they would, and
That's
you'll-
like a covered
in
walkway?
this,
or-
in this rendering, it's a covered walkway with a peaked roof. We haven't linked into which era of architecture we're going to do, but that would be it. There would be a kind of portico entry.
They could go down the side too.
Yeah, there
You
would
know,
be.
and they go over. That's not
So
covered.
where do the buses come in? Are they in that upper right corner?
They
The
stay in that
inner
yard.
city buses will come up Joseph. They'll come into the entranceway here. This is Greyhound and Trailways. Back out and return to the street from up here. And it's a ways away from the intersection too, which we thought was an
And
advantage.
what level is that at?
That's going to be at the same level as Central Avenue. This will all be great cut away out of the hill that's there now. Okay, this is going to be at street level.
I think you might have a bit of a challenge because the street itself is diving down on a bridge.
It's okay.
Getting the
It's going to
buses
have to match the
There's
street
no bedrock,
alignment
though.
and
Yeah.
come in, but it's not going to be up. In other words, we're not going to have. We don't want buses climbing hills because you know what they sound and smell like when they climb hills. So it's going to be relatively. I'm going to say at
So you
grade.
may be
without-
you may be slightly below the floor of the
That could be.
train station. And
Yeah.
you're still using the train tunnel to get to the
Okay.
tracks, right?
Yeah, in other words, but obviously the accommodation's got to be that the ingress egress is away from the intersections
Yeah.
and is somewhat an at-grade facility, not putting the buses up high.
Okay.
Okay, let's rip it off and let
Let's
the
rip
rest
it
go.
Number two.
So who's number two?
Number two, that's at this table. That's
Who's
10.
two?
Hey, Mark, who wants to talk? Where's Mark?
You need tape? Here you go.
Yeah,
We need tape.
Okay, we'll get more food.
No, you gotta clap.
Move we adjourn.
Not a Charrette unless they clap.